Welcome, everybody. Welcome back, I should say, to the Just Jump In live stream. When you're checking in, say hello. Let me know you can hear me. We'll see that, make sure that audio and video are working this time around. Split Rock, welcome in. Good to see you in here. And we had Brad in here from Willow Creek. It was the first one in and gets the cookie, whatever cookie that is that he can find around home. So I guess we have some catching up to do. It's been like, I don't know, 3-4 weeks. I don't know where we're at with that. Apologize for last week's technical issues. That was the biggest failure we've had in now 46 shows. So that's pretty good, I think. I think we had user error on another one with audio, but I think we're doing pretty good overall. So we have to backtrack a little bit, talk about what I've been working on, but also the trip to Chicago that we had which was more than just hobby shop jumping this time around with the Dollhouse Miniature Show and the debut of the Dollhouse Miniature layout, train layout, and hi, Mom. Speaking of Dollhouse Miniatures, welcome in. So on that trip, the part of the trip this time around was to help my mom, who has seen a decline in purchases of her stuff. Now, her dollhouse stuff ranges anywhere from a couple $100 to a couple $1,000 because they're really fine, artisan pieces. But she started to incorporate some 3D printed items to try and capture people. And she started last year with some furniture and a working little TV where you download TV shows or videos of whatever you want onto the TV, and it plays and everything. And that got some people stopping by last year, and it did again this year. But I'm happy to report that the train layout did its trick. It got enough people to come by and actually stop and look at it and say, "Hey, isn't that neat?" Didn't generate a whole lot of interest in it itself, but it did what it was supposed to do. It was supposed to get people to stop at her booth, her tables, and I know it resulted in some purchases, but the real key was getting people to stop and say something and be there, and looking at her other stuff. So was really happy with that result when she reported that to me. The rest of the time in the Chicagoland area was spent, day one was spent looking at Legos for Gopher Girl, and then the rest of the time I was really focusing on model railroading. And we have Ken in here. Welcome, Ken. And John from Schuylkill River Valley. Welcome in. Nice to see you in here. I also have some updates on this too, but want to talk about the trip and what you can do. Now, the one thing I was a little disappointed in is I really didn't reach out to anybody to see if they had, any open house layouts or anything like that. What I did is I went out to the NMRA website and sought out the division that covers the Chicagoland area, and that was the Fox Valley division. they actually had one of their monthly meetings on the Sunday we were there, but I kind of made a choice and didn't end up going to their meeting. They were actually having a clinic I would have been interested in with some Eastern passenger cars and stuff, but um, I had a choice to go to the Elkhart Model Railroad Club's layout, either in open house, either Friday night or that Sunday afternoon. And I ended up choosing that Sunday afternoon, which was around the same time of the Fox Valley meeting. But what was really useful was I did go out to the NMRA website, went out to the region and found the division, and got to their website. And so they have a page where they list out the area hobby shops. And so it gave me a chance to go see some things that I didn't even know existed and that were kind of, in pretty good distance. Everything was about anywhere from 35 to 45 minutes away from our hotel. So it was all drivable, all very easy. I'm very used to the area, so nothing was super new, except for one of the trips was, and so we'll take a look at that, and then we'll come back to this. So bear with me for a moment. So let's start with this. So the Elkhart Model Railroad Club, and I'll show you their website as well. But they had they didn't have a shop or anything, but they did have an anniversary car. Their 50th anniversary was 2019. So they put out an AccuRail car. Let's see if we can get that in. And it's a pretty nicely detailed kit that we'll put together and get on the layout. And of course, now that I zoomed in, it's out of focus. And I don't know why it's not focusing on this. Let's see. If, I do not understand why that. It's really blurry to me. I'm not sure why that is, but it's a really nice AccuRail car. And actually, it's not a setup I've seen where they have a shell on the inside and then they have their parts glued to that. But looks really nice. It's a full kit. They were selling it for $24. And so I wanted to, just throw some support their way. Their open houses are twice a week and they're free. And so, I threw $25 at them and got the car. And so let me show you their website. Let's see if we can find. Yeah. And I'm sorry, I think I said Elkhart. It's the Elmhurst Model Railroad Club. So let me get that right for them. And let me get off the screen here. And so they have three layouts. They have their main one, their main room is an HO scale layout. Off to the side when you come in is an HON3 layout. And then they have an N scale layout sort of in the back. They have kind of a neat setup as they have a whole area for lockers so people can, lock up their stuff, have it there, or maybe they're coming from work or something. They can throw their bag in there and everything. And Elmhurst is I would call it a little bit of a touristy town right around that area, but it all centers around the railroad there. And it was very active when I was there, both freight and passenger seemed to be going all day. And then a lot of restaurants and sort of newer stores and things like that. And this was in a building that was the basement of the building, like many of the layouts you see are. So let's go back to this. So this is their layout, and they have some pictures on this website. So I'd encourage you to go to the website. Of course, nothing beats going there and seeing it. But here's kind of a picture of that, and you were able to walk in and around the whole layout, so there was space all the way around. And some pictures, and here you can see where areas you can walk around, and some view blocks that they had as you go around in there. When you're operating, you're definitely squeezing by people. It's pretty tight in there for the walk around. Their HO scale layout is a pretty old layout too. So some of the questions I had were, answered by some of the guys that were there who had been around for years. But it was really, really a nice setup. Let's see what they have for. Okay, so let's see if this loads up. And so, and it's further along than this, but you're actually coming in down let's see here, coming down the stairs from right over here to the left of this picture. Why would I go see S scale? I can see it right at home here. So I don't seek out S scale when I'm out model railroad fanning. I wish they had a few extra. I wish they updated their pictures here. It's pretty small. It loops around, and if you turn from this picture to your right, that's where the HO scale layout is. And so you can see here again in the background there, that's where the HO scale layout is. You can see they use Digitrax. Now, what I was really impressed with was how engaging the folks were there. So they had two greeters who gave some history as you came in, and they did it with every single person that came in, which was really nice. And then they had some people just around the layouts and everything, and most of the guys were back in the room where the N scale is. Actually, well, Split Rock, I was referring to Ken. I can go see Ken's layout. I can go operate. He's invited me. I've got S scale there, and I had the pleasure of sitting next to him at the meeting on Wednesday night, and I was already asking him questions, which is never a good sign for my pocketbook, because I was asking him questions about kits and things, and that usually means it's sparking me to actually want to build something, and that's bad news for the pocketbook for sure. So let's go in and visit the N scale layout. Let's see these load up here. And they had a couple trains running. They had in the N scale room, they had two trains running. HO scale room, there was one of their members was a young member, so just making sure everybody knows the hobby isn't going anywhere. He was a young member. He had an engine that he wanted to get running. It was new, and so he put that on the layout, and he was walking around running it with some of the cars from the club. But here are some of the pictures. So they had, what I'll have to do is I'll have to post some pictures that I took on the Twin Cities Division's Facebook page to get some great pictures, because these are all really in progress pictures. They have some great stuff. They have, passenger traffic in the Chicagoland area is a big deal, and so they do focus part of their layout on that, which includes a couple of passenger stations that are really nice. So they don't have many pictures here of this. So I'll definitely have to get the roll of pictures. Oh, there's more down here. Let's take a look here. There's their locker room and a workroom. We didn't get to go back to the workroom. They didn't have that open for people, and meeting room. But now, if I remember correctly, I think it's something like the HO scale layout is 35 years old. And so I was really impressed with how personable everyone was. And I'm not that forward of a person. I'm a lone modeler, and so going there alone and having a question, and I hope I have the pictures. There was a cornfield or a farming area that was done really well, and I've always struggled to understand how to get that done really well. So I had that question, and the guys who were in the club for about 10 years and in the HO scale room said, go to the N scale room. Those guys have been in here for the long haul. They'll let you know. And so they were able to answer my questions, and they welcomed them. And there were about 4 guys back there just talking. And as people came in, they would engage with them and talk to them. And I was able to ask them questions. And then all of a sudden I was having conversations with them. That's a really great place to go to get interested in trains, to get interested in clubs and things like that. So I was happy to support them, since I didn't have to pay to get in, and I really enjoyed my time. But you can see, it may be hard to see on the screen at the top, but Friday 7 to 10 p.m. and Sunday 1 to 4 p.m. They are free open house, and they are literally across the street from the train, and they have trains going the whole time. So that was a great Sunday fun day kind of thing. So I would encourage anybody if you're down there, there's so much to do. Everybody talks about Chicago, and I, for one, will say that Chicago architecture in downtown Chicago is fantastic and historical, and just one of the great things I like to see. But roaming around outside the city for 20 years, I've really come to enjoy the things that I've seen there. And I'm sad that I haven't been to this model railroad club before this. So yes, and so I didn't ask. I assumed, just from looking at it from a little bit of far, but it looked like the S scale, the 3D printed S scale trains didn't look like they had any layer lines, so I assumed they were resin printed. And I know there are a couple people out there doing resin printing for S scale, and they looked really, really nice, those cars. And so that's what I said. It made me interested, not necessarily even the 3D printing, but it made me interested, looking at Ken's car and the detail you have, because they're a bit bigger, was really exciting. Notch 8 Films, welcome in from Brisbane, Australia. Welcome, welcome. We are in Gopher Girl and I are in Minnesota. So the rest of the time I was there, I wanted to see some of the hobby shops that I may not have seen before. And I got a lot of stuff as usual when I do when I go to Chicago. And we'll take a look. So I went to Lombard Hobby like I always do, and I was stocking up on stuff there because they always have good prices. They have good prices online, great service. Where they do the bulk of their business is actually this is pretty close up. The bulk of their business is actually online, and so they have 5, 6, 7, 8 people running around putting orders together, but they always ask you if you need any help, if you want to see anything specific. They don't really they don't care a huge amount if you want to see something up close while they're working on the orders. They'll invite you back behind the cabinets and things like that to get close to see stuff. And they usually have good prices. And so while I was there, it was kind of stock up time. As you know, I gave a bunch of these guys, and I featured this on a previous live stream, but it was designed by somebody to hold Microset and Microsol, and it has done it perfectly for me. Since I've used it, I've never knocked it over. However, I'm still getting low on that stuff, and I have lots more cars to decal. So while I was there, they had a good price on Microset and Microsol, so I went and got that. Then they had these from Ammo. They had the Rail Center individual paints, where I got this aluminum in a set originally. And maybe it's just me and I just can't see straight or something, but the picture looks very blurry to me, so I apologize for that. John, welcome in. Nice to see you. So that's another John in the group, in the chat. But anyway, so I'm running low on this. I've got a lot more of the cars to build, and so I got another one of those. And then I do want to get passengers into my cars, so I grabbed this from Scene Master. These are all nicely painted. None of them have legs. They're not amputees, but they're just there to set up for passengers in the cars. So that was my Lombard Hobby stop. And I'll give credit to Gopher Girl, who insisted she knew where it was, and she knew exactly where it was, and she made a point of reminding me of that. So I'll give her props for that. Then another shop that I went to that I didn't know anything about was called Tom Thumb Hobby and Craft, and it's actually a warehouse. I think they have another location. So let me pull up these websites real quick, though. If you don't know Lombard Hobby and their website, I enjoy their ordering from them. Everything's prompt. Shipping is what it is, but their prices are very good. Now, I will say that they did not offer the previous tax discount that they did. And I don't know if something changed. I didn't push on it or anything. It was no big deal to me, but they had a deal when I was there the year before where I was registered on the website and I've ordered from the website. So they could see I was on there. They could see I was out of state, so they didn't charge city tax. So that's a bit of a savings because city tax I think is 10% there in the Chicagoland area. Uh, but Lombard Hobby is just lombardhobby.com. And that's their website. It's a little clunky of a search tool, I think. But I get what I need, and I'm there. And like I said, the prices are good. Like this, the Intermountain wheels. These are the wheels I would use, so that's probably why it popped up for me. $77.99 for 100 of them is a good deal. And so they're speaking of S scale. They carry a bunch of S scale at Lombard Hobby. So let's see here if they call it. I don't know if they call it out. They have some exclusives. They don't call it out here, but I do know that they carry quite a bit. Or they have some, not quite a bit. They have some shelves full of that. There is another shop out there that I don't really buy from. They don't have much that any other place doesn't have, and their prices are a little high overall, but they have a lot of S scale. And if I can remember, I'll tell you what it is. But let's see here. Let me move it over to Tom Thumb. So this is Tom Thumb Hobby and Crafts, and they have just a huge warehouse. This is one corner of the warehouse. This is up at their register. And their main focus in their crafting is dollhouse miniatures, not the fine stuff that my mom sells, but everyday dollhouse stuff. They have all kinds of other crafting stuff, and they get in, it sounds like, what they can. And they had some woodland scenic stuff, and they had unfortunately they were out of microsol and microset, but they had an incredible price of $2.99, which is unheard of. And so of course somebody picked those up. And I did end up picking up one thing from them as I went through. They have actually, in this photo, you can see the aisle to the left. That's their tool aisle. And they have tons and tons of useful tools there. And okay, where did we go? What happened here? I apologize. Kicked myself out of the studio. Oh, give Can you hear me now? Wow. Okay, now I'm all right. How about okay, bear with me. That's because I had somehow I popped on again, so it's a duplicate and so you're hearing reverb or something like that. Yay. I'm glad I'm having more crap going on. How about now? Guys? Can you hear me now? Okay. Let me know if you're an echo because I sure hear it and it's throwing me off completely. So the next place that I went to, I'm not even gonna be able to do this. Give me a second here. Let me know if you can hear me now. Let me know again if you can hear me now. Um, I think I muted computer audio. You probably can. So let's put that back on. Okay, so you can hear me. Yeah, and I'm back, and I have that echo. So I'm gonna sound nuts going through this. Now, here we go again. Let's I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to get through this, but we'll try. So the the place I'm really impressed with is a place called Ron's Dwindling Hobbies. It's definitely a local hobby shop. let me see if I can present that, where this all started. Now, so, okay. So this is Ron's Money and Hobbies, and their uh, website doesn't have anything really. It's a local shop. Um, it's your typical local shop with guys in there who want to talk and talk trains and talk hobbies. They also had some great prices on things. So that was one of my favorite trips. Um, they had some okay prices on things. Didn't have a huge amount of stuff. Almost bought a tank there as I'm sort of getting closer to wanting to try military models. But this was definitely a supply trip, this one. So I need more of the 36-inch wheels. So I got a set of those, and that's a pretty competitive price. I've gotten them a little lower than 13.95, but that was fine with me. I really enjoyed the shop, and so I was happy to support them. I got some brass screws for trucks. And that's about a competitive price. And I wanted to try some new colors. And I really like Vallejo Model Air. And so uh, the new colors I wanted to try, they have this steel blue, which is a pretty metallic looking blue, and a dark blue. Um, and then this US Air Force green. I think that would look good on a rolling stock. And then I got my favorite, which is this Panzer Dark Gray, which I first got through a set and have refilled that many times. And these prices these are you usually find these for 3.99. These were all 3.50, so that was a really good price. And while I don't need paints, I couldn't leave without getting some. Uh, they had this is a sealed microscale decals for Amtrak, and they were charging $6 for them. So I couldn't pass that up. They didn't have any New Jersey Transit, but they had the Amtrak. So when I work on an Amtrak car, I have decals that I can trust because they're sealed. And I posted this. Like I said, I get interested in doing things that are not on the path that I'm trying to take with the AP certificates. And they have this Campbell's kit, and I don't need this old manufacturing kit, manufacturing building. But look at the price on that for a Campbell's kit. That's a fantastic price. $10. Opened it up. They have all the sealed bags. Um, they come here's your box of sticks. They have some. I assume that's probably for the roofing, the corrugated metal. They have some signs and sides and supports are cardboard. And then they even come with a pack of detail, and it's all sealed. $10 for this. I can see it anything close to $10. And I was like, yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get involved in a Campbell's kit. I'm crazy enough to do that. So that will be going into the blue bin for now, but we'll get to it. And then they have these Eastern Car Works kits, and you can see this is $12. Another great price kit. And this is a passenger car. It's a Pennsylvania Railroad uh, observation business car. So what I thought I would do with this is I would make this a private car. Amtrak rents out their trains, the back of their trains, where they hook up private cars all the time on parts of their route. And so I thought this would be a great addition to um, the fleet. So we'll be working on this one at some point as well. And so it's all injection molded plastic. And I've heard of Eastern Car Works, but never worked on them. So it gives you a diagram of everything, and then um, on here, and then some general instructions as well. So we'll see how the instructions are on these, and if anybody has worked on Eastern Car Works, I'll take any hints or tips that you have. Which one's split rock? The um, the Eastern Car Works or the Campbell's box of sticks? Welcome in, Model Railroad Show. And I probably missed you, John Squirrel River. Um, it was nice having you back in here. So, okay. So that was the trip to Chicago, another successful model railroad trip. And I had some with the family too. So, where are we with this kit as we come very close to the convention? I'm not sure I'm going to have this one finished. As we talked about, I have some parts that fell off that I got to get back on. So what did I do? We'll see if you can see this up close. Well, it's shiny, but so I first added some detail. I'm trying to do the decals. These are very hard to do on this end, cutting these stripes, but there'll be stripes down here and like safety stripes down on this end. But in the meantime, that's 015 brass, and that's one of the handrails. There will be a handrail high up on the exit on this side and on this side, so I have to get those done. But I did get that one in. You can sort of see the shine right there. So that was an interesting, hard one to do and bend and figure out, but it came out decently well, so I'm happy with that. The next thing I did was added the microcrystal clear to one side after testing on um, other other bodies, and so this comes out crystal clear. The reason you're seeing blue in here is because I have tape behind there. Now, let's see if I can show you on this one here. You see there's some black in here. So what I didn't do well was I had this tape in here when I was painting the car to protect all the wiring and the electronic. So when I went to work on it, it was just stuck on there, and I had gotten some paint in there, some of that black paint. um, and I couldn't get it off, and it's stuck to the micro micro crystal clear. And again, I apologize. I'm stuttering through this because I'm having trouble with the feedback from the computer audio. Let me see. Let let me know if you can still hear me. I turned down the audio a little bit so that I can not go crazy. So I thought about it and figured out, what if I use the tape twice? And so what I did with the tape is I laid out the tape, um, one end, then I cut down the middle of it, or not the middle, kind of off a little bit off of each side, and left the ends sticky. And that way, the microcrystal clear is touching the non-sticky side of the tape. And so we will see how that comes off, but that should work better and come off. And then you'll be able to see right through there. And I was able to get all these windows done, not the car end, but all the windows in here. And then I'm gonna have to actually cut this out and redo this one. Let's do this. Let's see what happens if I can see if I can remove this, and use one of my tweezers here. And now that didn't work as well as I was hoping, because it is the microcrystal clear is sticking. If anybody has any hints on working with microcrystal clear, would maybe putting um, parchment paper in here work better? Because that certainly didn't work while you can see it pulling. As I'm, you probably can't see that, but as I'm pulling down on it, it's pulling off. So that was a good try, um, but we'll have to redo these. Um, maybe parchment paper. Anybody um, anybody have experience working with that, with something like this? And the other thing I noticed is working with this. One of these um, marker lights popped out, so I'll have to get that in. And no matter how delicate I am with stuff, I end up knocking things around. So there's a lot of repairs as I go through and build these. Um, so besides this, I have to do some paperwork still. And what are we like? Um, we are 2, 4, 5, 6 or 7 days from convention in Wilmer, Minnesota. And so I'm going to have to get the paperwork done on this too. So I'll certainly work on that this weekend. Um, I did take a day off before the convention so that I can try and work on stuff. And I know I don't have to put the models out the first day. Um, so if I had to work on anything, I could still work on stuff to the last minute. Um, the, uh, I also started. That's not the right one. What did I do with it? I'm starting to work through the details too. There, the ends. Let me show you on the. So here's a model um, where they have these gates on the ends, and here's the real one. That one's a little harder to see. And then there is a drawing too of the ends. So on both ends, they have these gates. I tried to 3D print these originally, and they were too small. As and when I didn't know much about them, as I got better, I have a version of something, but these supports are hard to get off, and it's so delicate that these aren't surviving. Um, let's see. Here's another one, and they are black, so they're hard to see anyway. Um, so they're a reasonable facsimile. They should be the right size or close to it. And so I'll still try to get those on. They'll still need some styrene because those gates come off of the car. Here's a good shot of that. So I'll need a little bit of styrene tube or dowel or whatever, and then I can paint these. I was trying to get rivet detail, and I was unable to do that. It's too small. And then also was working on the um, vestibule here, and so that's just tube, painted tube, and so that just has to get glued on. Um, this one I'll have to figure out if I do this one this way, how I'm going to bend that. I know there's some. I think Plastruck does some elbows, um, but I was just thinking it was just a little hard to find. Um, so I'll probably do both of them this way. Yeah. And so that's not hard to do. I just painted tube. I have to just paint the ends, and then those are going to get um, glued on the ends as details. So we're getting closer to something to be able to present at the convention. So if you are going to be in the Minnesota area, the um, it's going to be the 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th. So Thursday to Sunday. Thursday starts registration. Check out tcnmra.org for details and to register. They have some. They have some rural facility tours. They have which also has a model railroad in it. They have a ton of clinics, and they have a celebration room where people will show their models, like I will, and I'll get them evaluated for merit. And they have a banquet where they have an auction where you can get a bunch of great stuff. And there's always great food. And we'll be enjoying that, and hope everybody else will get a chance that are in Minnesota to come out and visit the convention. Yeah, but yes, yes, there's plenty of time as if I work from wake to sleep every day. I have Monday and Tuesday. I do work with that pesky job thing, but I'll have the evenings. Then I'll have Wednesday off. I'll have part of Thursday um, to work on stuff. Um, but yeah, I mean that's what I wanted to show um, from trip to Chicago, which I enjoy every year with the family, and great model railroading, great railroading to see. Um, there is a railroad museum on the way to Chicago that Gopher Girl always points out, and we never stop at. Maybe one of these days we'll do that. Um, but what I'm going to challenge myself next year to do is actually connect with people, starting with people in the Fox Valley division, um, and see if I can get to see some people's layouts of their homes. But, yeah. What is everybody else working on? I know a couple of people in here are going to the convention, and I know you're probably working on stuff for that. I know Ken has been working on um, one of the working on models for the popular vote model, which is going to be a 12 by 12 diorama. It can be as tall as you want. It could be any subject, but it has to be um, 12 by 12. We'll see if we can probably can't get this in the frame, but I will be displaying for this the abandoned depot. The top still comes off of that, but I do have, I did more detailing throughout this. I did some more with the tufts and thing. We went over that in one of the previous live streams. And so this is going to be my entry into the popular vote, and hope people like it. I know a lot of people have liked this, um, and hope they enjoy it. I haven't written anything up on this. I could write um, a get the correct paperwork and write up a merit form to see if I can get merit for structures with this. So I'll think about over the next couple of days, see if I can get the motivation to do that. It was nice to have it done though, and not have to work on it. So I did work on it a little bit, but not a lot. And I could focus on working on some of this other project. But it was nice that that ended up being the subject, and I had something for it. Not your buildings are not 12 by 12. Well, I'd be impressed with anybody who actually brought in a 12 by 12 building, because that would be a gigantic building, as you could see on there. You need to make that a skyscraper probably, which I don't think we're in your era, Ken. But yeah, Split Rock. What are you working on, if anything, right now? And I do want to say congratulations to one of our members who became a master model railroader. He's a fellow 3D printer. He loves the 3D print, and he's designed a number of. He does everything in N scale, and I struggle with HO scale in printing. But we were able to celebrate his master model railroad designation. You know, for a military guy, it's surprising that you don't follow directions. That sounds good. How are you painting your 3D structure? Are you doing just traditionally a base coat and colors on top of that? And are those structure is gonna be for your layout, the 3D printed structures, or are they just for the so you're a child from following directions? Something tells me you follow directions really well when it's your wife that's giving them. Are you gonna, submit that split rock for, um, merit? It is for your layout, okay. I am trying to, connect with people who 3D print who are willing to share their 3D prints. Um, I generally don't pay for 3D prints. They're not for the files. They're not expensive usually. But I would love to just trade with people my designs are public anyway because I don't pay for the software. Okay. I I I suppose you could, even though it's not your design, you could super detail the buildings if you wanted to. But I know you're going for that structure, so I figured you were probably scratch building those buildings. So yeah, I was I've thought many times to get, 100 count of the wheels, the 36-inch passenger wheels. Um, but my building of the cars is slow. I don't think I'll ever need that amount. So I decided I would be fine with picking these up. I didn't realize I had them, but I have one pack that I got for like $12. But I'd even from Ron's Lane Hobbies, I'd rather pay 13.95 just to have the conversations with them. They even said they'll ship to Minnesota if I want to order something through them. And so they don't have to have a lot of stuff on their shelves because they can, like anyone else, they can order from distributors and stuff. So I'll probably hit them up to see what they can get me when I need something. But that was one of my favorite stops. I go into um, scale model supply here in the Twin Cities regularly, sometimes every week, and they know me there. I don't buy big amounts of stuff, but I buy small stuff almost every time I'm in there. And the most they say is hi when they come in. Um, the owner's daughter, once in a while, will ask if I need any help with anything, but they don't really converse. Um, and they don't really get into talking with the customers. It seems there are a few that they do, and I'm sure they know those people and have known them. But uh, this is these the two guys I ended up talking to at Ron's Mobile Lane Hobby. Just just made a comment, looked at what I was picking up, and made a comment, and we got to talking. And one of them was doing repairs, the other one was sitting at the register, and they just were friendly and wanted to talk. So that was nice. There was no pressure. I walked around the shop for a long time before they saw what I was grabbing and made a comment, but it opened up conversation, and that was nice. Um, so I kinda like that atmosphere, so I'm willing to pay a little more for something like that than, you know, um, more impersonal. Like I've been in New Jersey, Yankee Dabbler's not that far from my mother, and I've been there twice now. And unlike Lombard, and they have the same volume of online orders. Um, Unlike Lombard, not one of them on either trip said a word to me. They have the store front, and you can go in and buy whatever you want there. You can order online and can pick up, but they don't make it friendly enough to walk around the store. And I know they have two floors there. One they have offices and storage on the second floor, and then they have a whole nother storage facility away from there. But they're just not friendly there. They don't care that you're in there. Um, and so a very different experience, which is a shame because for Yankee Dabbler, they have great prices on the stuff that at least I buy. Um, and it makes me not want to buy from them. I'd rather buy from Lombard and pay a little bit more, and they're both going to ship to me, you know, and that stuff. But just the in-store experience made the difference for me. So, but it is what it is. I'm sure if I'm strapped a little bit for money and I have enough for Yankee Dabbler and it's cheaper than Lombard Hobbies, I'll probably go to Yankee Dabbler, so they won't lose out that way probably. Um, if it's significantly cheaper. If it's a matter of $1 or 2, I'll go with Lombard. Split Rock, have you done any motive power yet? And how long do you have to be an elected official as to get that certificate? I assume you couldn't do it in just 1 or 2 terms as the superintendent. Where are we? So I think I'll do a little work tonight, but tomorrow is the show at the fairground. So I usually like to get to those early. I do my walk around 2, 3, 4 times until I find stuff that I really want to focus on, and then I focus on those. So I'll be there. So Ken, I was thinking about the possibility of doing regional work. I'm conflicted because I kind of really, I know I have a long way to go, but I feel a little rushed. Like I have all these things to do that I want to focus on the modeling. So I was thinking about that, um, potentially doing something at the region level, or even coming back and doing something at the division level as well, for volunteer points anyway at the division level, which I have to forget I have to get those signed off on anyway for the work on the trunk sales in the last 6 years of being director at large. So that I can fill my um, binder. So like uh, I have a very empty binder right now. If you can see that, this is my program binder, and so I I had the opportunity. I proved this. We talked about having the scoring grid. I saved that. I did some shadowing at a previous convention about 2 years ago, and did some scoring of other people's stuff. a shadow. Um, I laid out and what I need on these couple of pages, and then I have the paperwork. Not as not as pretty as Damien's, but functional. And then here's here's one of my first track plans. So I have that at least drawn out. I don't know. I'm sure that won't um, show everything that's needed, um, but it's there. And so I'm organized, but I just gotta start getting the certificate. But I got my own. So remember, if you want me to promote clearly and accurately, the I was talking about I need the file for the logos because I just pulled these off the website and manipulated them, so they're not really official. But uh, if you guys can get me the file, or if Damien can get me the files, I certainly can promote them on video and things like that. Oh, look at that! Now I just lost video. This is there's some kind of something going on. Some kind of grizzlies out there or something. So, all right. Well, since we're having a ton of issues now, I guess I've made it as um, a maybe I'm an influencer now because now I have all these audio and video problems now. Maybe I graduated, but with that, I guess what I'll do with the show tomorrow uh, is I'll probably cut it off here and say, I really appreciate people sticking with me and showing up and joining in the conversation. And hope to see you next week as well. But I'll say, remember to just jump in and try something new. You never know if you're gonna like it unless you try it. So just jump in and have a great rest of your night.